Hey everybody, back again. I'm way overdue for an update on the Epic 8. It's New Year's Day. Happy 2025. We'll use this as a test to see how long it takes me to actually get this uploaded. Might be today, might be in a week, we'll see. But it's filmed on New Year's Day 2025. So admittedly, weather in Idaho hasn't been great for riding mountain bikes for a couple months now. So I haven't been riding a lot. But I've got caught up. I wasn't sure how I wanted to approach this video is really why I didn't do it for a while. If anyone wants to see a very well done video that's actual production quality and has effort put into editing, things like that, check out my buddy Josh's channel called Low Angle Adventures. And he and I did a comparison of this Epic 8 and his very well-built Epic 7 Evo that ends up a couple pounds lighter than this because of the way he built it. And that directly compares this bike with his Epic 7 Evo. And that was really the main point of that. Where this, I'm just going to try to do, how does this bike actually ride? What are the reasons I chose it? Would I choose it again? Some of those things. And we're still going to need another update later because I have not been able to race this bike yet. My son has been able to race it twice. So he got to race it a little bit, and two different NICA races, but I haven't raced it yet. So I think that's an important part of covering this bike for some people is the actual race experience. This season, I raced a few short track races, mountain bike short track races prior to getting this bike. And then I did the Boise Trails Challenge, which is almost the complete opposite of short track. So I raced everything from 25-minute all-out short track to the Boise Trails Challenge that took 42 hours of riding. And so I feel like I use my bikes over a super wide spectrum and ran the exact same bike, basically set up identical for both of those scenarios. And my goal is that this bike does the same thing and it covers all of my needs. So first off, why did I end up with an Epic 8? Partially it's because I was already on an Epic 7. So start there. At the time I got my Epic 7, I had been riding my Giant Anthem and I'd been riding a Santa Cruz Tallboy, and the Anthem was a great cross-country race bike. The Tallboy was more my play bike. I did some training on it, and I would always go to Moab a couple times a year and loved the Tallboy there. It was a perfect bike in Moab. But there was a notable difference in the geometry. The Tallboy had a more relaxed geometry. I can't remember the exact, but it was around 66.5 degree head angle, a little longer wheelbase, and it was just so much easier to go downhill fast on, but was definitely not as efficient and had some downsides. You can only fit one bike or one bottle in the triangle. So that was, kind of how that started out. That I'm riding this Tallboy. I was like, man, this geometry is so much fun to go downhill on. If there was ever a cross-country race bike that was more like that, I want it. Right after that, I got an entry into Leadville, and then the Epic 7 came out. And I loved the updates to the brain and I loved the updates to the geometry. It relaxed the head angle out. I think it was like 67 degrees at that point then, and compared to 68.5 on my Anthem. So I got that Epic 7 without even getting to ride one. It was in the middle of the COVID shortages. They were impossible to find. I put out a blast on Facebook of, hey, if anybody can find me this bike, I'm interested. And a friend in Utah immediately popped up. He says, hey, here's a listing for one in Arizona. I ended up Venmoing some guy I'd never seen in Arizona, a whole pile of money, and he shipped me a bike. Checked all the serial numbers, nothing came back stolen, things like that. So I had looked him up. He was a valid racer. He had race results, things like that. So I figured it was all legit. I did a little homework, but it was a little nerve-wracking. And that's how I got my initial Epic 7. So I had that, and immediately it was a big change from the Anthem. Notable geometry changes. So now this, even going a little more relaxed, I was interested in that. The change to 120 millimeters, I was kind of interested in that. I had been doing more the bigger, longer events where I felt like a little bit of just extra plushness may make it a little difference in not being as beat up over time. And I had this hard rule of whatever I got had to fit 2 large bottles in the triangle. And the Epic 7, at the time I bought the Epic 7, the only other bike that really fit my criteria was the Supercaliber. And it had still a steep head angle. The Gen 1 just still didn't quite check the boxes. I was really intrigued by that bike, but I didn't want the steeper head angle. So I ended up with the Epic 7. And so now I've still got that same thing. I can fit 2 large bottles in the main triangle with room to spare. Got the more relaxed geometry. It's got the swap box now. I want to say I'm not a Specialized fanboy, but my gravel / cyclocross bike that I race is a Specialized Diverge. I've been riding a Specialized Venge road bike for years, and last year I put together a Tarmac SL8. And then I ended up selling the Santa Cruz. So my personal bike collection right now are all Specialized. I love the classic black and white S-Works look. It's rad, looks good. And so that's how I ended up with it. I went down to the Pan Am Games, watched the Pan Am Championships in Midway, Utah at Soldier Hollow, and the Specialized athletes just were on, kind of debuting these bikes at that time, and talked to a couple people. They said they really liked it over the Epic 7, and so I gave it a shot. So that's how I ended up on one. Since the last time that I filmed anything with this bike, there are a couple things I've kind of changed. One, I cut down the bars. They were 780 millimeters wide. I cut them down to 765. I kind of put that in another little quick video on kind of how to cut down the bars. And the factory Roval computer mount was frankly embarrassing, both for me to be seen with it and for Specialized to produce something that bad. It was really goofy. So I got this K-Edge angled computer mount, got rid of that embarrassing mount that Specialized used, and added that. Swapped out from, I think I saw the Specialized like ergon grips on there that had the bolt, so you can just slide on and off, which there are some upsides to that, but I've always liked it's kind of the silicone foam style grips. It's what I ran on my prior Epic for years. And so updated cut down the bars, updated. These are wolf tooth. They're the wolf tooth carve grips, and added those. Probably saved 60 grams. And then I updated to the SRAM HS2 rotors, which I think added 60 grams, if I remember right, somewhere in that ballpark, which is kind of annoying. Check out the video I did with my buddy Josh. His bike was a lot lighter than mine, so adding a little bit of weight was painful. It's now even heavier since the last time he weighed it by a little bit, though it may have been balanced out by the grips. I don't know, but not stoked about that. The overall weight on Josh's scale, it was like 24.8 or 9. I can't remember exactly. Compared to a regular, like if you buy an S-Works from Specialized, then it comes with the full transmission XXSL. And, this XX1 crank, I think even with the power meter is still lighter than what they list the transmission crank set at. And this cassette is lighter than the transmission cassette. So I should be gaining weight there. It's an XO1 rear derailleur, so a few grams heavier, but I think maybe still lighter than the transmission derailleur. So I should be lighter there. These wheels aren't the SLs, and so there is 200 gram difference there, 210 in these are 1450 versus 1240. They're a 28 spoke instead of a 24 spoke, and the DT350 hubs instead of a DT240. So, that's 7 ounces, but the bike did come out a little bit heavier than what I would have guessed based on the specs from Specialized. So, and some of that is probably the tires as well. These are 2.4 inch Maxxis tires, the Recon Race front and rear. So that's probably a lot of the weight difference is those tires too, compared to what they list in S-Works from Specialized if you buy their complete package. How does it actually ride? That's the piece. I'm not a pro bike reviewer or anything like that. Just a random guy has to spend his own money on bikes. So I can't say a lot of the things, but compared to the Epic 7, there is a lot better downhill performance. Just so much smoother, so much better. The suspension works a lot better. As good as the Brain was for what it was, this is a much better system, both with the twist lock and the flight attendant. Having the open position just fully opens everything and gives you a much smoother ride, a lot better small bump compliance, a lot better just overall grip, because the suspension is working better. It just feels like everything's a little more stuck to the trail. It's more stable. It's got a lot longer wheelbase, so it's a little more stable. And even in the pedal mode, you have a platform to pedal on that gives some stability, so it's not bobbing all over. So you can use that middle pedal position, or it fully locks out and is super efficient. Flight attendant versus not flight attendant, there's not a huge difference. Right over there, I got the other frame sitting there. It's still for sale if somebody wants a essentially brand new Epic 8 S-Works frame set. I could save you about $1,000 off the price of a new one. But I rode that one with the 3-position twist lock. So I've ridden it that way and with the flight attendant. Both are great. Both, you still get all 3 positions. The difference is flight attendant's doing it for you. It eliminates some cables, so get no extra cables. This is super clean. Just two brake lines, and that's it. I love that. It's clean. It looks good. Fits a race plate on the front end better. Does that matter? Not a lot. You still, obviously, when you're really going downhill, open it up, go downhill, and you get that benefit of that fully open position that just gives a lot better performance than the regular Epic 7 did, and I think better than a lot of other bikes on the market do. Compared to something like the Epic World Cup or the Supercaliber, you get a lot more rear end travel, which I think for a lot of people does make a difference. It just really depends on what you're doing. I would love to be able to have one of each. That'd be cool. The long wheelbase, this is the one thing, I've always ridden a large. My height always falls in the middle. I've covered this in other videos. I'm like 5'9.5". At one point, the sizing chart used to say up to 5'9" was a medium and 5'10" and up was a large. So, so where does that leave you at 5'9.5"? They've filled that gap in to where it does start at, I think it's 5'10", is where they switch it saying you should go to a large. This did gain enough wheelbase length over the other one and then a tiny bit of reach that I really felt like maybe I should have gone with a medium and a longer stem, but they don't offer the one-piece cockpit with a longer stem, at least not that I've seen. And so I can't get that and go longer. So really, I'm only at 5 millimeters longer because I've got the same stem length as what I was already running before on my other bike. So my saddle ends up pushed a little bit further forward to accommodate that and give me the right kind of knee over spindle fit there. And I think so my fit ends up still feeling overall really good to me, but I have wondered if going to a medium with a longer stem and keeping the shorter wheelbase would give me a little bit more of a quicker feeling, maybe a little more playful, a little sharper in the really quick stuff. Because that is the one thing that I did notice as I would ride back to back on this bike in my Epic 7, is that the Epic 7 just seemed a little quicker in some spots. And I think that was mostly just that little bit shorter wheelbase. If you check out that other video I did with my friend Josh, I noticed the same thing on his Epic 7 Evo, and I really do think it's the wheelbase is what I'm noticing. Most of that is in the front center. So it's the distance from here to here got longer, not the distance here to here. This stayed basically the same. With the slacked out head angle, that pushes this out. So now you gain some length here, and that so that changes things a little bit on that front end. Makes it more stable, easy to go downhill fast, but you're moving that distance here grew. And so I was tempted to go to a medium for that. I wish I was in a situation where I could have ridden both of them a lot. I was able to go to a local shop and I rode a medium Epic 8 around in the parking lot. They hand it over your driver's license, then you can go out and ride it around in the parking lot. And I just felt too cramped on it. But it also wasn't really set up in the way I probably would have set up my own. I would have moved my saddle around a little bit. I would have put a longer stem on it. I would have still ended up with same distances between my touch points, but with a shorter wheelbase underneath me. And that may have solved that. I don't know if any of you follow Jonathan Lee on Trainer Road. He initially was riding a large on this and has ridden large in the past. And I think I gathered that he maybe switched to a medium. I need to follow up on that, but he may have run into the same things. But overall, super happy with it. It has every bit of, because of the flight attendant or being able to lock it out with the twist lock, it has every bit of the efficiency of the prior Epic 7, but has much better downhill capability. And obviously, I mean, that's what they were going for, was increasing that downhill capability. Because it has fully locked positions, or the pedal positions, it's made it so the suspension can be set up softer so that your downhill can be really good, but it's just going to lock everything out for when you're going uphill, or or you use that middle pedal position. And that makes it so you can set up your suspension softer than you would have before. Because with other systems where you either didn't have full lockout or the brain setting, you had to set up your suspension stiff enough for it to give you an efficient platform to pedal on, but then you're getting a downhill compromise, and this takes out that compromise. So that's just not really even a thing anymore. What are the downsides? Probably, I think there are lighter options. I think you can build a Supercaliber a little bit lighter. I think you can build the Epic World Cup. You can build lighter, but you give up rear travel with both of those. Scott Spark, I don't know right off the top of my head what they're coming in at for weight. I would assume they have to be competitive. I know people have their reasons for it and like it. I don't like the enclosed shock. I want to have access to my shock a little easier. I like being able to see it. I like being able to, as I ride along, I can essentially look at that red ring on the shock, and I see how much travel I'm using, and kind of know if I need to adjust things, dial in my suspension. So that, that's one that's out there. Bicycle Station has done a really good couple videos recently on the Epic 8 versus the Allied BC40, and with exactly the same build kit on both of them, same wheels, same transmission, saddle, everything identical. The Allied BC40 came in lighter. So, there are lighter options out there than the Epic 8, but you're probably giving up some other trade-offs. So that's kind of where I'm at on this. I've had it 5 months. My son raced it for 2 NICA races. He really liked it. He just ran it as is with the flight attendant, fully automatic, and let the flight attendant do its thing, and he thought it was perfect. I did kind of one quick lap around our state championship course on it, just test it out, and the flight attendant I thought was perfect for it. You're climbing, everything's firms up, and you turn to go downhill and immediately opened up, and you kind of had the best of both worlds. He did run it with his own wheels and tires. He is not quite as confident downhiller, and so likes just a little bit more grip. And so he was running specialized fast track tires, and we just pulled his whole wheels and tires off and swapped them on. Everything else is the same. He's running similar rotor, similar cassette, so easy swap. But other than that, he raced this as is. He did crash it once, so that's annoying. Luckily, I can't tell that there's any marks on it, so he got lucky. But he put on a podium at one of the races, so he put it on a JV podium, and thought it was great. So it clearly is a very capable bike. He liked it so much that we added another one to the garage. Santa Claus brought him an Epic 8 Expert, so we've added another Epic 8. Look at those white Roval wheels. Those look way better. They would look way better on my bike with that black and white. I'm jealous that he got those. So I feel like he should have to trade me those wheels just so I have those white logos. But I think I'm upgrading my wheels in the next little bit. If anybody has a line on the special team edition Revolve Control SLs, that's what I really want. So hook me up. So this is an Epic 8 Expert. So it's got the 3-position twist lock. Sorry, the background's kind of a mess. Garage is a mess. It has the cables. You know, I mean, that's the downside. It's a little messier. The non-S-Works frame has ports both sides, so you can just run everything through there instead of running it through the headset like the S-Works. I would assume you can buy the S-Works cover. It's got to be available from Specialized, and at that point, you know, you could probably just put plugs here and run it through the headset if for some reason you felt like you had to. I don't know why you would, but just saying, it's probably an option. He's got transmission. It's a GX transmission. I'll have to give some of my thoughts on that later, separate video. But anyway, we're Epic 8 converts around here. If I was rich, I'd buy my daughter one too. She needs a nice light bike, so she's racing a hardtail at the moment, and she likes it that way. She's claiming that's what she wants to be on, but I'd like to buy her that Epic 8 Pro. I don't know if you've seen the one with kind of the teal frame and the pink fork. She would love that, and if I could figure out how to afford it, that's what I'd hook her up with. So that's what I got. I try to film all these just in one take, because then I just dump it in my video or into my phone, and there's a quick video editor on there, upload everything to YouTube, minimal editing. I don't have time for that. You know, if you want super fancy editing, there are definitely better channels, but I just do this just to give my real world thoughts on the bikes, and maybe someday I'll do some more editing, but that's where we're at, 5 months in. Next real things for me this spring, I will race this a couple XC races, and then, you know, kind of like XCO kind of style that I'm going to be at, and then I will do our local short track series, and that's 4 races, and you know, that'll be kind of my kickoff for the year. Training's underway. If you got any questions, let me know. Happy to answer any questions on this. If it helped anybody make a decision, helps anybody not buy a bike that they thought they wanted to buy, or helps anybody buy a bike that they didn't want to buy, you know what I mean. All that stuff. Separate video teaser. I've bought a bike that I rode it around and I'm not sure this was really an improvement. That is not the case with this. This bike, 100%, bought the bike. It is a big improvement over my last Epic, and I think it will make me faster in the long run. I do want to cut a little weight off of it. I don't think I want to go to transmission, and I really think from all the specs I can find, transmission's heavier anyway. So I think just some new wheels are the next step for this, and I'm going to experiment with some different tires. I'll be at Moab in March, and at that point then I'll kind of tear up these on the slick rock and then go to some new tires maybe. I'm going to try some other stuff. We'll see. Anyway, that's it. I'll try to get this uploaded maybe later today. If it pops up as a January 1st video, you'll know I actually got around to doing it in between watching some football games and cleaning the house.